Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's episode. I just wanted to apologize for how sporadic the summer has been. As some of you may know, I kind of talked about it in like comments on Instagram, and I've mentioned it here a little bit. I've been struggling with some mental health issues. I'm kind of, you know, having some medication changes and things like that. So I'm doing better now and I'm kind of getting more back on a regular track, but it's been something I've been dealing with for months. So I do apologize for the infrequency and randomness. I'm going to try to get on a more regular schedule, to make things easier for myself and for you guys. So thank you for sticking by with me, and enjoy today's episode. Welcome to the Bravo Papers, a safe space for all us Bravo fans who love to analyze, deconstruct, and talk about our favorite Bravo shows ad nauseum. So join me, Bravo and Botox, and we'll catch up on all the Bravo news and read way too much into our favorite shows and Bravo celebrities.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why customers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Bravo Papers, Bravo Weekly News, here with your host, Emily. I hope you are enjoying your summer and having a great August so far. I can't believe we're a week in already into August. It's crazy. And I just got one of those, alert things going off on my phone, making that high-pitched noise to tell me that there is hail coming, and it's going to be like big hail, and to watch out and take cover. So luckily, I am indoors recording this podcast, so I don't have to worry about the hail. But I do have to worry about the storm of drama coming from the Bravo world. How do you like that transition? Okay. It was so cheesy. What should we start with? I mean, there is so much Valley news. It's actually like ridiculous. So I guess we might as well start with that because there's so much. Obviously, the reunion has started with the Valley. So, that also brings more drama on social media and stuff like that. One thing I will say is that I really enjoyed the Valley reunion part one. Like, I didn't get that much enjoyment out of the season. Like, it was fine. Like, I don't think I hated it as much as a lot of other people I see online hating it, but there's a lot of stuff I hated about it. Like, I hated that it was kind of repetitive and like we're still going, with like the Danny storyline. Um, even though like Danny sucks and I did not like what I saw this season for sure. It felt like that was kind of the only thing really happening besides what was the other thing? The Kristen and Luke thing, which is like so depressing and also infuriating. So it's kind of like, kind of needed something else. But yeah, I think they need to switch up their casting and kind of mix things up because it's getting a little bit repetitive. And like I said this, I think on my last episode, I'll say it again now. I think the cure for this show would be to get rid of Nia and Danny, because I think as long as you have Nia and Danny, the rest of the cast, most of them, is going to use Nia and Danny as their storyline. Like the rest of the cast is not going to like open up, and we're not going to hear about, what's going on with them. They will just keep like vultures like circling around Nia and Danny. And again, it's a hard thing to kind of argue and talk about right now because people hate Danny so much. So they're like, well, he deserves it. Yeah, of course. He deserves to be called out. He deserves all the things. He's terrible. And on top of being terrible, he's so annoying. Like, he's just not like a likable person. But all that being said, it's not the only thing that I want to hear about on this show, right? And it's also annoying when the rest of the cast is like, feels like that's the only thing that they're talking about. Like, it's just like, okay, I get it. He's an asshole and he sucks. Like, he's showing us that him on his own. You don't even need to do it. And, you know, a lot of the fights with him, like, it feels like people are like trying to like in that like finale episode or whatever where Janet threw the drink, if they hadn't gone up to him and initiated all that, like none of that would have happened. Just let him be a drunk asshole at the party, and the cameras will show us that, because clearly they were this whole season of him acting like an asshole. And we would have just, and I think actually more of the audience would have been on the girl's side. Like, I think a lot of the audience is like like Janet, by throwing the drink, like like Lala's right. Like, she's given the audience something to be like, oh, well, now she's, you know, that's assault. Like, you're just, you know, so it's kind of like, you know, it's a broken record at this point. And like, I'm just kind of bored of it. It's like, I know Danny sucks. I know Nia's going to stay with him at least for a while. And yeah, like, what else is there to say? He's obnoxious. He's a bad drunk. He's treats his wife poorly. Okay, you know, and she's annoying too. Like, I don't know. Like I think get them off the show and make the rest of the cast have to, you know, maybe do some work that and share some things that don't have to do with Danny. Yeah, like, okay, can we do that? Like, I feel like Kristen and Luke are kind of the only ones that are really like, you know, sharing like the hard personal stuff in like a real way. That's how it feels. I feel like Lala has nothing going on. I feel like Jason and Janet are pretty fake on camera. I feel like Jesse and Michelle have kind of wrapped up their storyline. Like, yeah, like there was the thing with Lacey, whatever. She ate them up at the reunion, she ate up Michelle at the reunion, like part one, like big time. But even that is kind of like, okay, it's like had its day or whatever. So it's kind of like, okay. And like, you know, Jax isn't on the show, so, you know, we can hear how Britt's doing, but I don't know. Like, it's just, we need a new couple. I think we need a couple of new couples. Like, I think get rid of Danny and Nia and bring on a couple of new couples. In my ideal world, we would also get rid of Lala and Schwartz. I just don't think they really added anything to the season. I think Lala came on and she played kind of producer's pet, as she does. I think she did everything. You know, she went into those situations and started up with Danny so that they could have some good scenes and, you know, won back the favor of the audience, but she doesn't really have anything going on. And like a lot of her stuff does feel really rehearsed, you know, like it. I think the only reason she didn't seem as rehearsed when she was on Vanderpump Rules is because she was drinking and probably doing other stuff, and now she's sober. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think Schwartz and Lala added anything. Like, for me, I'm like good without them. Like, I'd rather have like Sheena and Brock back, I guess. Okay, so let's get into some of the news. Let's start with Michelle and Dr. Dre update, because you know, she's on the reunion talking about how, you know, he's wonderful and she just likes meeting nice people, and you know that they're having fun, and you know, she's kind of gives this like very PR vague answer. But now recently he's been seen stepping out with another woman at Nobu, and I mean, that's where he was also seen with Michelle. So fans are kind of speculating, like, is this like a friend or is this somebody? Um, I mean, I don't know. It's, I even questioned if these were AI at one point, because like he's wearing the exact same thing he was wearing in the Michelle pictures, but apparently they're not. I don't think, at least. It's so hard nowadays. Oh my God. But anyways, you know, she's wearing like a little dress, and he, like, it looks like they're on a date. Like, it looks like the kind of thing a woman would wear on a date. So it's hard for me to believe that, you know, but I mean, you never know if they're, who knows, maybe they're out with a group of people, etc. Either way, who gives a shit? Because at the end of the day, what is Michelle doing? Like, here's why I can't take, and I think this is the thing that's lost on a lot of people. Here's why it's hard for me to take Michelle, Janet, Brittany, and I think this is why it's hard for a lot of the audience to take them serious in their convictions, because it's like, we agree with them that Danny sucks. and that he treats Nia like garbage and like seems like he's an asshole and all that kind of stuff. But that being said, it's tough when like up until very, very recently, Janet was, her and Jason were trying to help Jax rehab his image. And it feels like the only reason that they're not anymore is because, and they were doing that after he had physically assaulted her. So yeah. And then the only reason it seems they stopped is because like Jax got pushed off the show and the audience is so done with him. So there's that. Then, Brittany keeps kind of hammering Nia about defending her guy or protecting him. But it's like, do you not have understanding of that? Because you were with a guy who was, doing coke nonstop and was, abusive. And like, can you not like have some sympathy? Like, she doesn't seem to have any sympathy for that at all. And it's like, I get you can dislike Danny all day long, like, again, but like, it seems like she has this vitriol, like there's an energy that she has towards Nia. So that's the other thing. And then let's go to Michelle, who is all on the like hate Danny train, which again is fine. But now she's dating someone who has a known history of assaulting women. And like, I'm not talking like, even a small thing. Like these are like serious violence. So it's kind of like, it just feels like, and I'm worried about Michelle. Like, I don't want her to get into this relationship and get hurt. But it's just kind of tough to take the three of them seriously when it just kind of feels sometimes like, number one, they just don't like Danny, which is fine, because I just don't like him either. He's really annoying. I would accept just somebody just being like, I just don't like this guy because he's obnoxious. Like, sometimes I wish someone would say that. He's obnoxious. He's a belligerent drunk. He's also grabbed an ass and probably made tons of inappropriate comments. And like, he's annoying. He doesn't mesh with our friend group. We just don't want him around. You know what I mean? It's like, I just wish someone would just say that. Like, I just don't like him. But it's like, they feel like they can't just say, and they also feel like they can't just say they don't like Nia when they clearly just don't like Nia. But again, you don't have to like everyone. And I would respect it so much more if they were just honest about it. So they're trying to make it out like it's all because, it's all revolves singularly around, he grabbed Jasmine and he makes them uncomfortable. And again, those are valid things. But I don't think, but again, it's like, okay, but then why are we entertaining someone with like, a known history of domestic violence? Why were we defending Jax? Like, it's kind of like, you can still hate Danny, but maybe have a little bit more, I don't know, like understanding of where Nia's coming from. Like she's, we could all say she never should have married Danny, but the fact of the matter is she did. And she can't just leave. She's got 4 young kids. She's in a tough situation, like, and they're not helping. Like, they're not going about it in any sort of way that would be like a friend, like truly reaching out to Nia, or like, it just kind of feels like people who we just don't like them. So we're just going to like hammer on them over and over again. And again, I feel like I have to say this. I'm not defending Danny and Nia. They have their own shit. But I'm just saying, because it feels like we're in this argument with the Valley where it's like, if you criticize like Janet or them, it's like people are like, oh, well, you're a Danny defender. And it's like, I'm not a Danny defender. I'm a no one defender. Like, I have some sympathy for the situation Nia's in, yes. But I don't like either side. Which is actually why I want, like, I'm just realistic. I know that Janet, Michelle, and like, I know they're not going to be off the show. Danny and Nia, I can see being off the show. So that's why I want them off the show. Because I'm kind of sick of not being able, like, feeling like I can't criticize, like, Janet now. Because if you criticize anything Janet does, people are like, stop defending Danny. And I'm like, I'm criticizing Janet about, like, something that has to do with, like, Zach that doesn't even have to do with Danny. And people will say that. Like, it's actually, the argument has been watered down, like with no nuance and no context on the internet. It's just frustrating. So, like, I'm kind of glad I have this platform so I can discuss like the nuances of it and discuss the complexities of it. Because you can hate Danny and see that he sucks and also see some of the kind of moves that Lala, Janet and them are making, in terms of like being overproduced. Like those two things can exist at the same time. Okay. So, end rant. What else do we have? Because I'm 14 minutes in and I've only covered Dr. Dre. Okay. Recently in my home, I had this really awkward space that I needed a small console table for. In my hallway, right where the stairs are, there's this corner with just nothing. I thought about doing a planter or something, but my husband wanted something where he could just like throw his keys and sunglasses when we came in from the door. But it's such a weird space that needs the exact measurements for a corner console, but thank God for Wayfair. I could put in the minimum or maximum height, width, depth, search corner console, and I got so many options and I found one that works perfectly. The other thing I love about Wayfair is the quality. You can shop with Wayfair Verified, your shortcut to durable pieces hand vetted by product specialists using a 10-point quality inspection, testing things like quality of materials, functionality and features, and even how long it takes to build. You can get quality, but you don't need to overspend. And you can read more than 20 million verified 5-star reviews from real shoppers. Join Wayfair Rewards today to get 5% back on every purchase and start saving on your next home upgrade. Head to wayfair.com to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
My hair grows incredibly slow, and after I had my daughter, I experienced a lot of hair falling out, thinning, and just even slower growth. So a lot of people told me that I should take certain vitamins, I should cut it more, stop using my straightener, all this stuff. But spoiler alert, none of those things worked. And that's why I'm loving Basque and Lather products. They don't subscribe to this like one size fits all method. Basque and Lather knows that each person is an individual and is unique, and so is their hair. I went on their website when I ordered my first products, and they have a hair quiz. It was really helpful in seeing exactly what my hair needs are and which products would actually help me. So I ended up getting the Basque and Lather Scalp Stimulator, and I love it. I've been using it for about a month, and I'm already seeing more hair growth and fullness in the sparse spots. Another thing I love about Basque and Lather, besides the amazing products, is that they're Black-owned and family-operated. When a dermatologist misdiagnosed CEO Shayna's younger sister and said her hair may never grow back, the family took things into their own hands. Today, her hair is down to her hips. Shayna and her mother researched and formulated their own scalp and hair oil to stimulate growth and retain length. I mean, we love that. We love women-owned businesses. We love Black-owned businesses. We just love it. So explore viral bestsellers and products of healthier hair of all types from Basque and Lather. Go to basqueandlatherco.com and use Bravo Papers for 20% off. That's 20% off at basqueandlatherco.com, code Bravo Papers. Okay, so kind of on that same topic, like at the reunion, they were like, give me an example of what I did. And it kind of felt like Kristen and Zach like sort of clammed up. And, somebody put on Threads, Zach and Kristen can't even give examples of what Janet did. And then Zach replied and said, we did. We can't help if they were edited out. Which I do have my suspicions that Janet got such bad like backlash last year that, the editors did kind of promise to like, or the production, whatever, kind of promised to maybe help her out a little bit this year, which is fair because, despite like, I don't always agree with her, but I did actually have some sympathy for how hard she was getting hammered by the audience a lot of times. But, that being said, I can name things that they did that happened. Like 2 seasons ago, wasn't that long ago. Case in point, we start the show, Janet comes on, she assumes everyone is gonna like hate Kristen because when the last time she was on Vanderpump Rules, everyone hated her. And she was like, quote unquote, crazy Kristen. So Janet comes on, and instead of like just being a normal friend to her friend Kristen, who she's been friends with for 15 years or whatever, the first thing she decides to do is throw her friend under the bus. And the first thing that she does as well is take Kristen's ex-boyfriend's side in their breakup and, you know, starts reinforcing that she was like the crazy one in that breakup. And she started like fully coming for Kristen. And Kristen was like, what the hell? Like, we've been friends all these years. The second the cameras go up, you all of a sudden like have an issue with me and you're coming from me and you're taking my ex's side. And like, yeah, speaking of like being all pro women, taking Kristen's ex-boyfriend's side. So there was that. Let's not forget, like, Janet was also the one who kind of started the narrative of Michelle and the Don't Say Gay bill, which, by the way, I still believe that Michelle supported. And then she was like, basically like turned that around and made it like Kristen's fault for like sharing it when she was the one who initially brought that up. Like, you know, and then she was like leaving Zach out of like filming and blah, blah, blah. And I'm not saying Zach was innocent, but like, you know, like she came out of the gate and she had a lot of missteps, and that's me being forgiving. And now she's acting like they have no reason to hate her. Like they have reasons to not trust you. They also, and just like she's allowed to just not like Danny and Nia, you know, Kristen and Zach are allowed to just not like Janet or Jason or whoever. Like, not everybody has to like each other. And like, and let's not act like, you know, Janet has been innocent from day one. Because I'm really not buying into this like revisionist history. I think there's a lot of people who hate Danny so much that they're now writing like a revisionist history of Janet, that she's been like, hasn't done anything to anyone since the series started. And she's always been like this like righteous, good person who just no one listened to. And it's like, well, not exactly. Like, you know, we'll give her some credit that she was, you know, she was right that Danny's an obnoxious, belligerent drunk and that he's, you know, doesn't treat women well. Like, fine, we can give her that. But that doesn't make her like innocent in everything else that has nothing to do with that. So people also pointed out, like, after the reunion part one, that Zach and Janet were not following each other. And Zach said, I'm currently blocked. So he replied to a post with like a laughing face emoji. I mean, yeah, that kind of makes sense. I mean, it's very like Janet. Like, I feel like she runs away from things a lot, even on camera. So I'm not like super shocked about that. So in other news from the Valley, Janet and Jason are kind of responding to some of the stuff that happened in the last couple episodes. So first there was like the whole thing of Jason like going up to that woman who he thought was his wife and, you know, mistaking her for Janet. And I guess people were kind of calling him out on that. And this account at Brick Dirt Pillow said, Jason responded to me on his Instagram and deleted it. But when I called him out for groping another woman, he said, I'm a wild and crazy guy. At least he admits it. So I mean, he wasn't saying it literally. Like, I'll give you the context. But it was like somebody replied and said, you literally said, I thought, so this was on Jason's post. You literally said, I thought you were Janet and that's why I was all up on you. She looks nothing like your wife. Were you drunk? Jason says, nope. It was a 1 Coors Light night. Couldn't risk losing my balance with the bum ass leg and all. Person replied, and you mistook another woman as your wife, 2 different hairstyles and different outfits. Wild, you did that sober. And then Jason said, I'm a wild and crazy guy. So obviously being sarcastic. I mean, I don't know, like, as much as like, I think people are just like want to pile on, you know, Jason and Janet. I do think that could happen. Like, I think you could be at a party and I don't know. I have to go and look back at their outfits and stuff, but like, I have seen that happen. I mean, when I do think about the instances when that has happened, because that like happened to me and like a friend before, but yeah, we were wearing like, we were at work and we were literally wearing like identical uniforms at the restaurant we worked with, and we both had the same like hair. So, you know, and it, you know, it was just like and then the person like realized, you know, like, right, you know, nothing happened, but they were like, oh shit, I thought you were, you know. So it is a little like, I get it, but, and I wouldn't be surprised if maybe he was drinking more than one Coors Light and he's just kind of like doesn't want to admit that, you know, he mistook her because maybe he had a few beers. Like, and again, would that be like a big deal? No, I don't think it would be. But he knows that if he admits that, he is gonna like, he's gonna get crucified. Oh, look who's the drunk now. Like he knows then they'll have something against him. Meanwhile, Janet's responding to the whole like throwing a drink on Danny and that being assault. In the after show, she said, I regret that I wasn't drinking red wine. Danny fucked around and found out. But he didn't in that, like, that's what I didn't get. I was like, you can't use that saying when the person wasn't like that saying is for like somebody coming up in your face or somebody like starting with you and then they get it back. But like you and Lala went to him. Like he was sitting there, like drunk, yes, but he was sitting there, pretty much like doing his own thing. And then they went up to him and started stuff. And it was literally like, they were like so far apart and like Janet was like walking away and then she threw the drink. Like it's like I just feel like she's trying. And again, like Danny sucks. And I think a lot of people don't care that he got a drink thrown at him. I don't really care either. But it just is that it feels very like she wanted to have her moment. Like she just wanted a reality TV moment so badly. And I think that's why I can't take it seriously. So she posted on her Instagram story that, yes, throwing a drink at someone is illegal and can be charged as assault or battery. So she put this as like from Google, right? Even though it leaves no lasting injury, the law treats unwanted offensive liquid contact as a crime. And then legal definitions. And then she writes, yes, throwing a drink and cup is assault/battery. I encourage people to use correct legal terms. And you won't catch me acting like the real problem is other people using the correct terms when they talk about my actions. So obviously this is her way of being like, when I said it was sexual assault last year, I was right. Which, yes, she was technically right. And I don't know, I do think that people saw that. I don't think everybody did. I think a lot of people, were kind of like, it's not the same and da-da-da. When under the law, like that is the definition. I think the reason Kristen and those people were mad about it is because they felt like it, although it is the correct term, it has like a connotation to it, I guess, which is kind of like how I took their upsetness about it. But I feel like she's erasing a lot of the context. Like the other reason a lot of people were annoyed was because him and Jasmine had sat down and talked about it and worked it out, and he had apologized. And seemingly like Jasmine and Melissa were like, okay, we don't want to talk about it anymore. Let's move on. And then Janet kept bringing it up. So this is my point, is like everyone is like ignoring kind of nuance and context when it comes to this stuff. Meanwhile, there's been a lot of debate about like whether Brittany was really like in on the whole like Danny and Nia takedown thing with Jax from last season. In which, she's saying she's not, and that was all Jax. Now, Jax commented on social media and he said, Brittany, you are a liar. You called me when you were in Hawaii. When I was home with Cruz, you were sitting in a park with Jasmine and said to me verbatim, fly here now and take down Danny and Nia. They are awful. And then Jasmine replied to this and says, sitting in a park in Hawaii, laughing face emoji, he has lost his damn mind. Yeah, he has. I mean, Jax is a liar. He's a known liar. There's not like, I can never take anything he says, as truth, and I never will. That being said, do I think that initially when him and Brittany were still together and he was like wanting to take them down, do I think Brittany was like okay with it? Yeah, I do. Because I think she on her own terms didn't like them, which again is okay. Maybe not cool to like take part in a takedown or whatever, but I do think that she didn't like them. I do think that Jax was always able to manipulate Brittany. So, and I do think that she did want to take them down. Like maybe not in like the same way as Jax would, like necessarily. I don't necessarily believe this whole like Hawaii park bench conversation, but do I think that she can't stand them? Yeah. I think Brittany, and I've always thought this, plays very innocent and like tries to play this like sweet Kentucky girl kind of persona when I don't think that's her full personality. I think it is part of her personality, yes. But I do think that there is a part, like, she always has to be like, I'm the nice girl. I like everyone. I'm nice to everyone. And fine, like, you can be nice to people that you don't like. But it's also like, you did for a long time kind of go along with a lot of Jax's bullshit, which again, you were in like an abusive relationship. So I'm not blaming her for that. But I do think that there were some things that she agreed with him on, very few. But I think one of them was these two. Like I think they both didn't like these two. They both thought these two were fake and oh, look at them with the perfect marriage. Meanwhile, you and I are screaming and yelling at each other and fighting and on camera and getting divorced. And I think it annoyed them. And you know what? There's a reason this is a saying, misery loves company. So I think that's just it. Okay, so what else do we have from the Valley? We do have more, sorry, or not sorry, depending on how much you like this show. So Britt was on Watch What Happens Live, kind of asked for like an update about how things are going with co-parenting. She said that Jax harasses her on their parenting app and she just ignores him and he's kind of like arguing with himself, which Andy thought was pretty funny. And then, of course, in Jax fashion, he had to respond to some of the stuff that she said on Watch What Happens Live. He said, the amount of blatant lies in this interview is unbelievable. I have never missed my scheduled parenting time with Cruz, because that was another thing she said, that he's missed time. It's public record that I have him every Wednesday and on weekends. And sorry, I need to make this bigger. And I was back in LA yesterday, Tuesday. Today, you refused to let me have my scheduled time with him because you're angry over personal matters. And that's why we have an emergency court hearing tomorrow, since you continue to weaponize my son against me. The truth will come out about everything when I finally have the opportunity to speak and I have the receipts to back up everything I'm saying. I mean, you have the opportunity. You're speaking right now. Like, I don't know if he means like once court things are settled. I don't think Jax even wrote that though, because it's well written and it uses mostly like proper grammar and stuff, and that just can't be Jax. So like I really think RHORI wrote that, which makes sense since the two of them are like she's his publicist and they're in a relationship. And then the other thing is, someone was like, you're really preaching about being respectful because you have a kid. When last week you're photographed with one of her closest friends, please. And then Jax replied and said, that's another lie by Brittany. They haven't been close, barely talked in the last year and a half. And Brittany was never a friend to RHORI. That is a lie among many others, which are about to come out. Okay, sure, Jax. Like, yeah, we all believe you. Because the other thing Brittany said in the interview was that like, she's like, despite what Jax says, RHORI and I were friends. Like, she had invited her to her 4th of July cookout. And, she was not just a publicist, she was a friend Brittany says she considered her family. She knew everything about like Brittany's life and problems and had supported her through like really hard times, like the divorce, etc. So, she feels like this is like a really big betrayal, which it is. And, I think Jax thinks he's like sort of like saving some sort of face for RHORI and him by saying that like, well, they weren't friends. They hadn't spoken in a year. But like, even if that was true, which it's not, but let's just say it was true, it doesn't really change anything. Like, she was still as a couple's publicist and worked for you as a couple. She was still like in your house, knowing all of Brittany's business, and like, it's still fucked up. Like, in some ways, like, it's not exactly the same, but like, it's like if the two of you had like a lawyer or a therapist and one of you started sleeping with them, like, it's just weird. It's a weird boundary that was crossed and shouldn't have been crossed. And then Brittany also says on Watch What Happens Live that like, up until Brittany found out about this, which was whatever, a couple weeks ago, RHORI was still her publicist, was still on her payroll, was still making 10%. So it's pretty insane. Like, it's crazy that this happened. So Jax also did this like stupid, like really set up like TMZ interview, like one of those street interviews where he talks about how he's like in love with his publicist. And it's so clear that he set this up ahead of time. It's like, it's ridiculous. And he's like, I'm in love with her and blah, blah, blah. And like, they weren't close and all that kind of stuff. And then Janet replied and said, sorry, I've kept my mouth shut about this, but I just have to say Brittany never lies. And I've seen proof and have receipts of Jack canceling and missing his scheduled custody times. Yeah, because in the video, he says like he doesn't miss that and everything she says is a lie, similar to the Watch What Happens live comments. Jack should be so thankful that Brittany is Cruz's mother because she does everything for him and it shows. Cruz is better than ever and it's because of Brittany. And then Brittany replied and said, and thank you, Janet, for finally like saying something about Jax like 2 years later, but okay. Brittany says, ha, 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 ha. Lori is really like, you rolling TMZ, you ready, Jax? And action. This man hasn't changed even in the smallest way. This is embarrassing. Definitely staged. I'm crying. I needed this laugh. LOL, phew. Or wheel or something. Which, yeah. I mean, I think that pretty much sums it up. Here's the thing. Jax's stunts are so transparent and it's like he's kind of like so dumb that it's like, it's like he doesn't even realize it. And he like thinks that the audience is still falling for his shit like 20 years later. And it's kind of like you don't even need to call him out on stuff at this point. It's like, that TMZ interview came out and like all the comments were like, this is so staged. Like, this is so fake. Like, it was like when Raquel did that interview outside the nail salon or whatever. Like, it was just like, okay, like, like we know this is a setup. Like, it's so stupid. And it didn't help you at all. I'm sorry. Now, one last thing from the Valley before we move on is that Seth Rogen made a little comment. So there was a clip from, the Valley reunion trailer where Danny says something about like, Seth Rogen agreed with me or like something like that. And Seth Rogen actually replied and said, keep my name out of your mouth, Danny. You've gone off the rails. And obviously that's making its waves around social media as it should. And I would say the same thing if I watch this season and how Danny's acting this season and I'm Seth Rogen, I'd be like, yeah, please don't be associating with me with that, I should say. Crazy. Okay, let's talk about some Real Housewives of Rhode Island because, this thing came out. Okay, source here. I'm not sure where they got it from, but I think there was a quote from Rula's husband saying that the period of his life with the mistress was the quote, the darkest period of his life. Okay. Meanwhile, the mistress she hears this quote. I'm sorry, I don't know where it's from because I did a screenshot and I didn't crop it very well. But anyways, it's being reported secondary from at Toronto Pop Zone. So meanwhile, the mistress ends up posting like a highlight reel of all these pictures of her and Rula's husband, like, for the 2 years that they had this affair, like happy and like having the best time. And, so she posts a picture of them like all smiley in a car and says, funny, for the darkest time of your life, you sure smiled a lot. And then she posts like just a lot of pictures of them like doing fun things and like having a great time. And of course, it wasn't the darkest period of his life. He was having a great time cheating on his wife. Like, that's who this guy is. Like, clearly. And I do believe that he left the piano teacher for Rula. I'm sorry. I believe there was overlap. Like, this is who this guy is. He's the kind of guy who's going to do it with you and then do it to you. Like if he left Rula for this mistress, he would do the same thing to this mistress eventually once he gets bored. Like, he's just that kind of guy. He's just, do not marry this man is the moral of the story. And he's trash. Does anyone else feel like August is the Sunday of summer? It's the perfect time to hit reset before the autumn rush. And for me, that always starts with my wardrobe. Quince proves you don't need a crowded closet to look incredible. You just need the right pieces. Quince specializes in effortless, high-quality essentials like ultra-soft organic cotton and premium Mongolian cashmere sweaters. They're beautifully tailored, built to last, and transition seamlessly from morning meetings to dinner. Quince also has premium stretch denim starting at just $50 with the kind of perfect fit, structure, and weight you'd expect from a luxury designer brand. I continually wear my Quince Bella Stretch wide leg jeans. I'm obsessed. They're probably my most reached for item in my closet. They're so comfortable and the most high quality denim I've ever owned without the price. Everything at Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. They work directly with ethical factories and cut out the middlemen, so you're paying for quality, not brand markup. Upgrade your everyday. Download the Quince app for app-exclusive offers or go to quince.com/Bravo Papers. Get free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada and the UK too. That's QUINCE.com/Bravo Papers. Does anyone else still get that back to school shopping feeling when summer starts winding down? Something about this time of year always makes me want to refresh my closet and get back into a good routine. The only challenge is figuring out what to wear when it's 85 degrees outside but freezing inside. So I've been reaching for lightweight layering pieces lately. That's one of the reasons I love shopping at Fabletics. They have so many pieces that are perfect for this in-between season. And if you're new to Fabletics, becoming a VIP unlocks major savings on your first purchase, which makes refreshing your wardrobe a whole lot more affordable. When I signed up as a new VIP with Fabletics, I got 70 to 80% off everything. One of the first things I bought was a pair of high-rise denim pants. Yes, denim. I didn't really think of Fabletics as a denim company, but oh my God, it's so soft, comfortable, and flattering. It's also great for us curvy gals. The quality honestly surprised me. Fabletics pieces feel like premium, but without the price tag. Soft, breathable, actually built to last. I'll be living in these jeans all summer and going into fall. I can dress them up for work and down for after or on weekends when I'm running errands. Shop now at fabletics.com/Bravo Papers to get 70 to 80% off everything when you sign up as a new VIP. Take a quick style quiz and be sure to select Bravo Papers when prompted to unlock this offer. This is a limited time offer, so don't wait. Again, that's fabletics.com/Bravo Papers for 70 to 80% off everything as a new VIP. As many of you know, my daughter is a beyond picky eater, and I often worry she's not getting the vitamins and nutrients that she needs. But recently I got the opportunity to try Haya Kids vitamins. Well, not me. She got the opportunity. And finally, I have found something that she actually likes with the nutrients she needs, and it's such a weight off my back. My daughter loves the taste of them, and the best part is they have zero sugar. Most kids' multivitamins have like 7 grams of sugar or more, and these having zero is amazing, and she still loves the taste and is actually excited for them every day. The other thing I love about them is that they're actually made around what modern kids are actually eating these days or not eating, and formulated around those specific nutritional gaps. The ingredient list is also clean, non-GMO, vegan, dairy-free, allergy-free, gelatin-free, nut-free. They've really thought of everything. We've worked out a special deal with Haya for their best-selling children's vitamin. Receive 50% off your first order. To claim this deal, you must go to hayahealth.com/Bravo Papers. This deal is not available on their regular website. Go to hayahealth.com/Bravo Papers and get your kids the full body nourishment they need to grow into healthy adults. So somebody commented and said, I think the mistress would love to move on, but Brian and his wife can't seem to stop bringing her up. I mean, let's be honest. What else did they bring to the show other than the affair? They sold their souls for TV. Anyone with a brain knows that. You want people to move on and to stop talking, but yet you guys brought this on yourselves for fame. Disgusting. You can't ask for one thing but do another. Just like trying to take legal action against the mistress for alluding to what happened, yet you're on TV talking about it, literally making it the main storyline. Make it make sense. It's not clocking. Sorry, we don't feel bad for you, and we all know what type of guy you really are. Now, the mistress reposted that comment and wrote, "Yup, clocked it." I think the mistress wrote that comment because there's a little too much detail and a little too much like, now you're suing her even though you're on TV. Like, I don't know. It just sounds a little suspect for a random commenter, unless it's like her mom or like her sister or something. It's like, why wouldn't you just say, Brian is the one who cheated and, he's trying to cover for it, or the mistress is trying to move on. And yeah, it seems like you've been trying to move on. They keep talking about you in interviews. It's crazy. Like, I don't know. I just don't believe that. Like, I do think that this mistress is also, a little like doesn't want to let things go. Like, there is a part of me that thinks that like not because she's necessarily still like obsessed with Brian or something. I think maybe she wants to get on the show, which is a definite possibility. So I could see that. But they're not totally wrong. Like, RHOA and him did make it. It is their whole storyline. They do talk about it in interviews. Like, like it's not completely off base. Meanwhile, Rosie, in a podcast interview, was asked about Liz walking away from RHORI. And Rosie says, part of being on a show like The Real, says, first of all, she was not surprised. She says part of being on a show like The Real Housewives is knowing who you are and having the self-awareness to recognize how you come across. She says it can be a tough pill to swallow when you watch yourself back and realize you're not who you think you are. Okay. And Liz responded and says, since we're going there, the viewers didn't exactly get to see the whole picture of Rosie in season 1. I look forward to that day. I mean, I have to be honest, like, I really agree with Rosie on this. I actually think that Liz thought she was going to come off as like icon mother, which she kind of did in a way. And I don't think she realizes it. Like, I don't think she realizes that her coming off as kind of like, a little batshit crazy and a little like scary and whatever is like kind of part of what makes like an iconic housewife. And you just kind of have to wait it out a little. Like, if she had just kept going, I actually think that like she would eventually be one of those like, known housewives. Like, she would have been kind of like a queen on this franchise. I really think she made a mistake. I think she'll be back. I think she's going to see that, but it's going to take some time. But, and Andy was like, made a comment like online being like, when she announced that like, you're always welcome back. Because again, like you see this woman is like exactly what they're looking for reality TV and for a Real Housewife. Like, she's got all the ingredients needed for a Real Housewife. She literally is like, the prototype in a way. So it's kind of like, okay, I do think that she couldn't, like, she seems like a kind of somewhat scary, abusive individual. I don't mean like physically or anything like that, but just like maybe in the way she like treats her friends, like if they don't fall in line. But then in the other way, she's very sensitive. Like, I think she's an extremely sensitive person, like to criticism, to all that. I think there's like some criminality there. Like, I'm not sure, but there's something up there with Liz there's something off. I want to see more of what it is. So I got to be honest, I'm really disappointed that Liz is leaving. Oh, man. And I wanted to see her and Joellen kind of like battle it out for Queen. Like, I think that could have been such a good dynamic to keep going with, but no, we got robbed, guys. We really did. It sucks. Okay, let's talk about the Real Housewives of Atlanta. Because, I forgot to mute my mic. Okay, I'm back. No more echo. So basically, Andy Cohen was on his radio show and he was talking about the Ultimate Girls Trip, how they had like this big premiere party or whatever with all the housewives, and Shamia and Portia were there. And basically, he says that they stayed away from each other at the RHUGT premiere. And he also said that he got a chance to speak with Shamia and her husband. What's his name again? Gerald. Gerald, right? Okay, if I'm wrong, sorry, but I'm pretty sure it's Gerald. I don't know. I'm having a brain fart right now. So he talked about meeting him and how it was so nice to meet him and all this stuff. And and they chit-chatted and all that, and that they were great and all that. And then he also says that, the real thing that hasn't really been discussed, with this whole like Shamia Portia thing, because there's this big kind of conflict of like, well, Shamia never wanted Portia, or sorry, Portia never wanted Shamia on the show. And the truth, according to Andy Cohen, is that the thing that was really blocking Shamia from coming on the show is that her husband didn't want anything, quote, anything to do with it, and didn't want like their palace or their house featured on the show. Okay, so that's what Andy's saying, which I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, maybe they had approached Shamia in the past. Like I could see her husband not wanting anything to do with it because, he is like this business owner and he has this big, HVAC business and he's like a known guy in town. Like maybe your wife comes on the show, that could be possible bad press, that could affect your business, your image, your reputation, which clearly it does, because I feel like a lot of people are like, what's with Shamia's husband? Like, he's a weirdo, like there's a lot of that kind of going around, or like, why is he like, the whole discussion about the baby, like, I don't know, it rubs me the wrong way. It's like, you can tell she doesn't really want another baby. And then it's kind of like, they've already been through so much. They have a child with special needs. And then it just also feels like Shamia's like, I have to give him a boy. If I don't give him a boy, then we're going to have that conversation. It's like, what's the conversation? Like, he's going to like leave you? Because like, if the pregnancy doesn't work, if you can't have a boy, like, how is that her fault? And she has to, quote, give him a boy. It's his sperm. It's his boy sperm that wasn't swimming. I don't know. It's very... it rubs me the wrong way. There's a lot of like misogyny there, and I just don't, and it feels like Shamia's just kind of like given into it, So anyways, Shamia commented on this, okay? And she says, my husband has never had a problem with me filming at our home with our children. He just never wanted to be on the show. Okay, so Portia responded to that, of course. And Gerald also replied. Before I get to Portia, let me read what Gerald said. Oh, it is Gerald. I was right. Okay, so Gerald499 says, it was great meeting Bravo Andy last night. I've always supported my wife and children being on the show as well as them filming in our home. I will continue to support her. Portia replies and says, now you're implying Andy is lying for the second time. I mean, yeah, like they are implying that. It's like now they know that looks bad to say that like her husband wouldn't let her. So now it's like, I don't know, unless Andy loves Portia so much that he's like in her corner and like they're in cahoots and he's like lying, which I mean, anything is possible in this like Hollywood entertainment reality TV universe. Literally anything's possible. So fine. But it is not the best to, kind of imply that your boss is lying. Like it's not, if you're hoping to get hired again, which maybe Shamia knows like she's done, so maybe she doesn't care. But yeah, so Portia's like, now you're implying Andy is lying for the second time. First, Andy already confirmed that I tried for years to get you on RHOA as a full-time housewife. Second, Andy is saying that the real reason, which hasn't been discussed until now, is that Gerald didn't want you filming in the home. Yet here you are saying that Andy is lying again. You are the liar, steady stirring false narratives, shaking my head. All right. I mean, I am inclined to believe Portia. Like, I'm not like, like, oh, Portia always tells the truth. Like, I have for years said that Portia's kind of a liar and that she hides a lot of stuff and she thinks a lot about like what she puts on television. And I do think that, but I do think also that, I don't know, she has more credibility to me because of the way that Shamia has moved last season and this season, which again are the only two seasons I've had a chance to see her, because she hasn't been on TV very long like Portia has. But I just, yeah, it's hard to kind of just take Shamia's word for this. I don't know. She's kind of an odd one in many ways that I wasn't suspecting or expecting, I should say. Meanwhile, and I love this is my favorite story of the day, like across all franchises. Okay. I just love this. So Kelly was on what's it called? The Carlos King podcast. And she claims, okay, are you ready? That she set the standard for the fashion and the content for the ladies on the show. Okay. And how she elevated the franchise. Okay. She has been getting ripped to shreds on social media for this comment, and rightly so. Like, I don't just think that Kelly is one of the worst dressed on Atlanta. I think she's one of the worst dressed ever. Like, when I think of the worst dressed ever in my head, like, Kelly comes to mind. And it's not just the clothes, it's the styling, it's the makeup. Like, it's a disaster. And like I really do think that the Atlanta women, especially this season, have been like really good with the fashion. Like, I've been really enjoying it, and like the looks they've been putting together, especially Phaedra and Portia. But, and you know, like not everything is like for me, but like I can appreciate it, or like I'm like, oh wow, that looks really good, or like that's cool. And like Cynthia too, you know. So I'm just kind of like, Kelly, you're not, and like, how are you setting a standard when you just got here and you're wearing a t-shirt? She literally was wearing a white t-shirt dress in one of the confessionals, and then is like, oh, well, it's Tom Ford. And then they're like $140. I'm like, I have dresses that cost $140. Like, it's just like, you're on Housewives. Like, not that there's nothing wrong with a $140 dress, but like, I would never be caught dead, like in a confessional wearing a white t-shirt dress. And then she's like, well, because I'm like, have like fancy makeup and hair. It's like, you know, that against the simplicity of the dress. Like, I get what you think you were going for, but it didn't work. Like, it just really didn't work. Anyways, so she doubles down on that, and she says, because even though she's getting ripped apart, and she says, at the Carlos King, one thing I loved about this interview is that I was finally able to speak my truth. I hate when people use that just to like backtrack on everything they say. Well, if I say I set the standard for fashion on Real Housewives of Atlanta, and you can't argue with me because it's my truth. Okay, but it's not the truth. How about that? And then she says, I was also able to give flowers where flowers are due and pay homage to some of the incredible women who helped shape the RHOA franchise. When I talked about setting the standard, I meant exactly that. As a new housewife, to come in during season 16 and accomplish what I did wasn't the norm for a newcomer. I hosted unforgettable events with amazing brands, created conversations, shifted perspectives, and had the ladies looking at fashion from a different point of view. These stores don't let you host because you're on a TV show. If you know, you know. Love me or disagree with me, I showed up authentically, and I did it my way, and I said what I said. Look at you using a quote from someone who came before you. Watch the full interview on YouTube, and see you Sunday on Bravo TV. I mean, like, I'm not saying like Kelly brought nothing, but I don't know what she's talking about, like unforgettable events with amazing brands. Like, I remember them being in like like Givenchy or whatever it was, like the clothing store. Like, I've seen on other housewives them do parties at like fashion stores. Like, that's not like a new, I don't know. And I bet you they have done that at Atlanta if we just go back to the archives enough. Created conversations, shifted perspectives. Like, I don't know what she's talking about. I also don't know what she means with like fashion from a different, I really don't know what she means. Like, I would need specific examples and details on that. And even then, I'm kind of doubting it. Like, I guess you brought a different point of view with like really ugly stuff. I don't know. Like, I would say the same thing about like Rosie on Real Housewives of Rhode Island. She brought a different point of view with like some of the worst fashion I've ever seen. Like, when I think about the worst fashion people this year, it would be like, of newbies, it would be Kelly and Rosie. And I actually like Rosie more than Kelly, but you know, it's kind of like Rosie's outfits were arguably worse, maybe, right? They're both bad, just in different ways. The whole Rhode Island franchise, their fashion is a mess. So it's almost like Rosie, I think, almost gets away with it more because everyone's was bad. Rosie's was just like really bad. Kelly's stands out because everyone around her looks good, except Shamia. Shamia has like a couple wins here and there. Kelly has no wins, and I think that's the problem. So it's just kind of like, yeah, I'm not buying all of this, Kelly. And like, I feel like she's trying to rewrite history in terms of what she's done on the show. I actually think she hasn't made that big of an impact. Like, you brought a divorce storyline. We've had divorce storylines like this before. We've had ones that have been as serious, if not more than this before. We've had controlling ex-husbands. Like, if we're talking about newbies who came in and like seriously changed the game and the franchise, it would be Portia and Kenya Moore. Like, those were two newbies who came on and completely changed Atlanta, and like for the better. And Phaedra too. They did things that had never been done. Like, they brought it. So it is funny that she's kind of saying that, when I actually think that the newbies who've made a huge difference for Atlanta was Angela Oakley. I think did that, like, not maybe to the same degree as Kenya and Portia, but she did that way more than Kelly did. Like, I didn't even think Kelly would get a second season. So I don't know. This is just crazy to me. Meanwhile, we have some good news for Portia, because she is awarded a $1.5 million payout in her divorce, deed to the mansion, a Rolls Royce, in her divorce settlement. And however, Simon, of course, is clapping back. He wrote on Instagram, they forgot to mention they also inherited $8 million in debt and still got to pay me. Being debt free is my flex. And then he has like pictures of him like at a club, like drinking, like, I'm debt free. I'm like, this man is so like, do you think we believe anything you say? And if she's inherited $8 million of debt, then would she get a 1 point? Is he talking about the mortgage? Like, if you're talking about the mortgage, then yeah, if you like, I guess maybe he's saying like the house isn't paid off. I don't know. And now she has to pay the remainder of the mortgage, which I guess if you have to give her $1.5 million, then it's actually, it's actually not, it's actually $6.5 million mortgage. And also, like, Portia just sold her other home that she bought, which was like a big house in Atlanta, so she could put that on her mortgage. She's also makes a lot of money on the show. Like, I think she's okay. Like, I think she can pay a mortgage on a $6 million house. Like, I think that makes sense for what Portia makes with like businesses, public appearances, sponsored posts. She's been on this show for so long. I think Simon is out of his damn mind. And I also take it with a grain of salt that they even owe that. Like, I think he's just trying to save face publicly. So good for Portia. We love it. We love that you made out well in your divorce, and now you're with a woman who seems like she is wonderful. And I just see like a glow with Portia, with this new woman that I just don't think I've ever seen before. Like, she seems like this is the first person she's like smitten with. Like, well, maybe Dennis. She was really into Dennis, but this seems like the first person since then that she like you could tell she wasn't into Simon, let's be honest. Okay. All right, we've got one last piece of Atlanta news here. So Shamia was on Watch What Happens Live recently, and she was asked to, like, kind of, like those little games that Andy Cohen plays. She was asked to do like a, Shamia says something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I watched it, and it was kind of like she had to give advice to each of her cast members. Okay. So when they got to K. Michelle, she basically said something like, you don't need to jump ship. Like, you can be friends with everybody. So basically saying that K. Michelle, once she saw like Shamia having issues with the other girls, she jumped ship and like abandoned Shamia and stopped being friends with her because the other girls didn't like her. So K. Michelle did not like this, as you can imagine. And she responded, oh, sorry, some music just started playing on Instagram where I had what K. Michelle said. She responded on Twitter. And by the way, shout out to K. Michelle, who has discovered Threads finally and is on Threads and is threading away because I think she didn't know. And she was like, oh my God, you can even add music on here. Like, she was all excited. Okay. So she said, "Girl, I just watched what you said. This is the third interview where she's trying to get ahead of it and start the narrative that I'm jumping ship or switching teams. When she knows everything I've dealt with her and what happened, I don't fall in line. I can think for myself. I'm fair. I don't deal with her because of her. Not cool for a so-called friend." Yeah, and I mean, I agree with her. Like, K. Michelle is, if there's one thing that she's not, it's a follower. Like, she is not a follower at all. And I think because she kind of like already was, famous in her own right and has this like successful music career, and she was on another reality show. Like, I think she doesn't feel the same. Well, at least this is the vibe I get. I guess I could be wrong, but um it doesn't feel like she feels that same pressure to like, bow down to like OGs or people who've been there longer. She seems comfortable to like express her opinion and call people out whenever she feels like it. So she also says, definitely no advice needed from you on being a friend. Me not messing with you has nothing to do with jumping ship. And you know this. I have the same friends I've had all season. The difference now is I don't have to sit around and defend you all day. Oh, geez. Dead that narrative now about teams because you know that's not what's happening. Reunion needs to hurry up. Okay. And it is, because tonight it is going to be on. It is Sunday and we are going to be getting a Real Housewives of Atlanta reunion, and I'm very excited. It looks great. I was just watching a clip that Bravo TV put up on their Instagram, and yeah, it looks amazing. All right, let's go to some Summer House news. I think one thing people have been kind of talking about was Wes' birthday post to Amanda. It was interesting. If you haven't seen it, you really have to see it. They're clearly trolling us. Like, they're not like, this is not like a, you know what I mean? Like, he like, yeah, it's like yassified Amanda. So he posts this picture of her sitting at like a restaurant, like him and her. And, he's put like a Facetune kind of like filter on her. And she looks actually like I thought it was Leva when I was first scrolling. Like, it does not look like Amanda at all. And then he's like, happy HB homegirl at Amanda Batula. And then he deleted it and he changed it to HB twin at Amanda Batula. I mean, although it is like a joke and they're trolling us and whatever, it is funny that, like, to me, that he put this on his Instagram story, not a post, and that he couldn't even write out happy birthday. Like, he had to put HB, and there's no hearts. There's no, like, and I don't know if like he didn't do that because everyone's watching or whatever, but like, I don't know. It's just, it's giving like fuckboy situationship vibes, Like, if you're like in a situationship with like a guy who's like doesn't really want to commit, but he knows he has to like wish you a happy birthday, like he'll kind of do like the bare minimum so that like he has like plausible deniability and can be like, what? I did a post, So it is kind of giving that vibe, I have to say. Now, Summer House have been seen like filming around, I think around Montauk. Dumois had some people who sent in like a pic of Kyle and some new girl. She's like a brunette, no one that we recognize, possibly like people are saying like maybe a hookup buddy or summer fling, or it could be a new cast member. What does this mean for him and Sally, etc.? And then Sally was on her new podcast with Lala where they're like, talking about sex or whatever. And I guess she was saying that whenever a picture comes out of Kyle and like someone else, he kind of like sends like an explanation to Sally and like apologizes, and it'll be like, oh, I'm sorry. It's just, and Sally's like, you don't, like, she says to us on the podcast, you don't like, oh, I say to Kyle, like, you don't owe me an explanation. Like, we're not in a exclusive relationship. We're both just like dating around and seeing and stuff like that. And, but okay, let's just clear something up though. If Kyle wanted to make it official with Sally, she would be, as much as she says she's fine, like, and not because like, oh, a woman can't also be like just casually dating and not want to commit. That's not what I'm saying. It's because Sally wants to be in a relationship with someone on Bravo because she's thirsty for like Bravo fame. Like, I don't, nothing to do with like the gender or anything like that. It's to do with like Sally is so thirsty. She's like, if Kyle was like, I'm in love with you, I want to commit to you, like she'd be like, let's go, like let's hard launch this and get all the follows and all the likes and all the attention. She'd move to New York in like 5 minutes, I swear to God, and she would happily go on Summer House or whatever show Kyle is on. So yeah, now speaking of that, we have a very exciting announcement from Summer House, which is that they're going to be doing a crossover with Below Deck. Like, in a million years, I would not have expected that. Like, in my head, it like makes sense to have the housewives on because they're like super like, they're like these like super rich, you know, whatever. Like they're like the typical yacht guest. The Summer House, not that they haven't like done well for themselves or they have no money or anything like that, but it's funny because we've just always thought of them as like younger New Yorkers who are like up and coming and trying to establish themselves. Now, clearly, you know, a chunk of the OG cast has gone beyond that and is doing well for themselves. But it is funny that, like, it's just funny to me that they're going to be yacht guests. Now, I'm going to be talking about this in more depth with a special guest I have coming on next week. So look forward to that. Or I guess it's this week's technically because today's Sunday. So that'll be out later this week. I can't say who the guest is. It's a surprise. Okay. But it's someone who will have a lot of below deck opinions. Okay. So they'll be the perfect person to talk about this crossover. I'm excited. It's looking like it's going to be a good season. I'm excited to not have to hear Amanda whining in the house. So it's going to be good. Actually, it might be out the week after this week. Sorry. I think I messed up my dates. Like, I think we're recording, but it'll be released the week after, I believe. But we're going to talk about all sorts of great Bravo news and stuff like that. And it'll be really fun. Okay. So I think we're going to wrap up there for today. Thank you so much for joining me. And until next time, you are now in the know for everything Bravo. Bye.
You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you might not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Pop over to Progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. In fact, 99% of their auto customers earn at least one discount. Visit Progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.